Hello all, it's the 21st of February 2018 and you're here with Dan in Essex, UK. So it's going to get cold. Polar vortex, cold air across the UK from Northern Europe this weekend. Apparently in Scotland it's going to be minus 10 degrees C on Sunday, that's 14 degrees Fahrenheit. Tuesday the 27th here in Essex overnight, minus 4 degrees C, and that's 24.8 degrees Fahrenheit. And on Wednesday the 28th, 1 degrees C, this is during the day, so this is the coldest daytime temperature in Essex to come, 33 degrees Fahrenheit, so relatively chilly one would say, and this is going to go on into March. Now in the UK, March, I remember certain years which it's been rather warm in March. They say that March can bring either the best or the worst of the weather here in the UK. And it's made me think, now a few days ago it got up to 10 degrees C during the day, which is in my opinion a good temperature, and I think I even commented on a video that it felt spring-like, and indeed it did. And that's when you start thinking, oh, I'm going to go outside and start setting some seeds. And in some circumstances that can be the correct thing to do. You know, if you're going to set them outside and then bring them in, etc, etc. I'm going to do probably some seed setting videos soon, but it can be the right thing to do. But at the moment it may well not be. Certainly if you're going to try to grow tomatoes outside, I'd imagine at the moment they would fail. But it reminds me of some phrases that I was sort of brought up with, because I come from a gardening family, both sides, and my great-grandfather used to walk behind a shire horse, you know, a plough, and although I never met him, I heard, you know, he was very gifted. He was able to feed himself, his wife and his 5 children from a patch of land that he rented. And to me that's quite an interesting thing. And the phrase was, never cast a clout till May be out. And I'm sure many of you out there have heard this, and for a gardener, at least here in the UK, it can be a very good phrase to remember. And now clout, of course, has come to mean different things. You know, one thing is a slap over the head, a clout. But in this case, clout would mean winter clothing. So it's an old English proverb, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it dates back to around the 14 or 1500s, so some time ago now. But clout being winter clothing, never cast a clout till May be out, means, or could mean, don't take your warm winter clothing off until May is gone. But there could be another meaning to this. Now, the May tree, otherwise known as the Hawthorn, or the Hawthorn, otherwise known as the May tree, should know about this. I pruned one for somebody yesterday and still got some of the thorns in my hand here. But beautiful tree with red berries. And guess when it flowers? Late April till early May, otherwise known as the May tree. If you have a hawthorn, or you see a hawthorn, a lot of them are in English hedgerows, very common here. And they also make a very good firewood as well, because the wood is very hard when dry. But a beautiful tree, and the proverb, or proverb, could mean, don't take off your warm winter clothing until the hawthorn tree blossom is out in full bloom, or when it has finished blossoming. Do a bit of research on this, because it's a very interesting proverb. Keep saying that, don't I? But as a gardener, you'll find it very helpful. Because I remember when I was a lot younger and I was doing a lot of this, I was always in a rush to get my stuff out. You know, I remember sowing things in January and February, and I remember even one year I had some corn on the cob outside. I grew them in the pots, as you do, and they're about this big in the windowsill, and I put them out in March, and I was so proud of them. And snow was on the way, and they were relatively big plants by then, and I put them under one of them big, not so big, but cold frames, you know, the plastic cold frames. And I managed to get some of them through the frost, believe it or not, through the snow rather. And, you know, they did crop. I think I had about 8 out there, and I managed to get it was about 3 to 5 I managed to get them through the snow. And I remember the snow even being on top of the cold frame. But that certainly is, you know, a thing that many of us do go and do, and that is to get stuff outside too early. I remember an elderly gentleman that I knew. He knew me, you know, I got on with him very well. He was a very, very experienced gardener. I've spoken about him in the past. He was the man who had the peach tree that he stated had, you know, over 400 peaches on one year, and then succumbed to leaf curl. He was a very knowledgeable gardener, and I find it can be good to learn from older people with regards to gardening, because it's more than likely, at least if they lived in the countryside, or even if they lived in a town, that they were brought up with gardening more and food production for themselves more than the younger generations. Of course, that's not true in all cases, but there are people out there that you can find, and you can glean a lot from them. You can learn a lot from them. There's so much that you know, you can learn from other people that have been there, and you can listen. So don't be in too much of a rush. And I know the enthusiasm is there. Of course it is, and it's a great thing to be there. I speak about motivation in regards to gardening in many of my videos, but also be motivated to listen to people and learn. And this rings true in many areas of life as well. And I just think that if you start getting itchy feet, as I call it, when you want to get out there and you want to do something, do a little bit of planning and think what you want to do that year, and start taking steps to make it easier for you when you do start to set your plants. Now, soon I'm going to be doing a series, as I stated, about getting beginners going in gardening, because I know a lot of people view my channel who don't have much experience, which is fine, because we've all been there at one time or another, and sometimes you just need a guide in the right direction, how to get started, and once you're on your way you can then carry on much easier. So what I'm going to be doing is getting some vegetable compost, some seed compost, and some pots. So like maybe the windowsill propagators that I've shown in my previous videos, Hacksnick's root trainers and other good ones, or even just basic little pots, and obviously a little trowel to fill them up with. And I'm going to start planning in my mind what I'm going to be growing. I've not set anything yet, nor do I intend to for a while. I was thinking about putting some stuff, you know, in the propagators, windowsill propagators and bringing them inside. But I decided not to in the end, because I'm thinking, well, why rush? There's other things that this time can be used for, and planning and preparation is one of those. So remember, never cast a clout till May be out. Look up.